Chapter 9: Urban Livelihoods. There are more than 5,000 towns and 27 big cities in India. Big cities like Chennai, Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, etc., have more than a million people living and working here. They say that the city never sleeps. Let's visit one and find out about the work people do in the city. Are they employed by someone or are they self employed? How do they organize themselves? And do they have similar employment and earning opportunities? Working on the street. This is the city where my cousin lives. I have been here only a few times. It is very big. Once, when I came here, my cousin took me around. We left the house early in the morning. As we turned the corner into the main street, we saw that it was already buzzing with activity. The vegetable vendor was busy arranging tomatoes, carrots, and cucumbers in baskets at her stall so that people could see what she had to sell. Next to her stall was a lovely, colorful one that sold all kinds of flowers. We bought a red rose and a yellow rose. On the pavement opposite, we saw a person selling newspapers with a small crowd of people around him. Everyone wanted to read the news. Buses whizzed past, and there were auto rickshaws filled with school children. Nearby, under a tree, a cobbler sat taking his tools and materials out of a small tin box. Next to him, the roadside barber had begun his work. He already had a customer who wanted an early morning shave. A little way down the road, a woman was pushing along a cart with all kinds of plastic bottles, boxes, hairpins, clips, etc. in it, while another person on a cycle trolley was carrying vegetables to sell to people in their houses. We came to a place where rickshaws were standing in a row waiting for customers. We decided to take one to the market, which was about 2 kilometers down the road. Bachchu Manji, a cycle rickshaw puller. I come from a village in Bihar where I worked as a mason. My wife and 3 children live in the village. We don't own land. In the village, I did not get masonry work regularly. The income that I earned was not enough for our family. After I reached this city, I bought an old cycle rickshaw and paid for it in installments. This was many years ago. I come to the bus stop every morning and take the customers wherever they want to go. I work till 8:30 in the evening. I take rides of up to 6 kilometers in the surrounding area. Each customer gives me rupees 10 to 30 per trip depending on the distance. When I'm ill, I can't do this work, so on those days I don't earn anything. I stay with my friends in a rented room. They work in a nearby factory. I earn between rupees 200 to 300 every day, out of which I spend rupees 100 to 150 on food and rent. The rest I save for my family. I visit my village 2 or 3 times a year to see my family. Though my family survives on the money I send, my wife also earns from agricultural work that she gets once in a while. Like Bachchu Manji, a large number of people in the city work on the streets. In a survey of Ahmedabad city, it was found that 12% of all the workers in the city were people working on the street. They sometimes sell things or repair them or provide a service. They work on their own. They are not employed by anyone and therefore have to organize their own work. They have to plan how much to purchase as well as where and how to set up their shops. Their shops are usually temporary structures, sometimes just some boards or papers spread over discarded boxes, or maybe a canvas sheet hung up on a few poles. They may also use their own carts or simply a plastic sheet spread on the pavement. They can be asked to dismantle their shops at any time by the police. They have no security. There are certain parts of the city where these hawkers are not allowed to enter. Vendors sell things that are often prepared at home by their families who purchase, clean, sort, and make them ready to sell. For example, those who sell food or snacks on the street prepare most of these at home. There are almost 1 crore street vendors in the country working in urban areas. Street vending was till recently looked upon only as an obstruction to traffic and to people walking. However, with the effort of many organizations, it is now recognized as a general benefit and as a right of people to earn their livelihood. The government is thinking about modifying the law that bans street vendors so that they have a place to work and that there is also a free flow of traffic and people. Hawking zones have been suggested for towns and cities. It has also been suggested that mobile vendors should be allowed to move around freely. Hawkers need to be part of committees that are set up to take these and other decisions relating to them. In the market. When we reached the market, the shops were just beginning to open, but the place was already crowded because of the festival season. There were rows and rows of shops selling sweets, toys, clothes, footwear, utensils, electronic goods, etc. There was a dentist's clinic also at one end. My cousin had an appointment with the dentist. We went there first so that we would not miss our turn. We had to wait for a while in a room before she was called inside. The dentist examined her and asked her to come back the following day to get a cavity in her tooth filled. My cousin was scared because she thought the process would be painful and was upset that she had allowed her teeth to go bad. From the dental clinic, she took me to a new garment showroom because I wanted to buy some ready made clothes. The showroom had 3 floors. Each floor had different types of clothes. We went to the third floor where clothes for girls were kept. Harpreet and Vandana, business persons. My father and uncle worked in a small shop. During festival times and on Sundays, my mother and I helped them in the shop. I started working there only after I completed my college, says Harpreet. We opened this showroom some years ago. I'm a dress designer. Our business has changed. These days, people prefer to buy ready made clothes rather than have them stitched. The trend these days is for ready made garments. You also need an attractive display for them, says Vandana. For our showroom, we buy things from different places. We buy most of the materials from Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Ludhiana, and Tirupur. Some materials also come from Noida and Gurgaon, towns near Delhi. We get some dress items from foreign countries too. There are several things we need to do to run this showroom properly. We advertise in various newspapers, cinema theaters, television, and radio channels. Currently, this building is rented, but soon we plan to buy it. Ever since this market has become the main market for people living in the surrounding apartments, our business has grown. We have been able to buy a car and book a flat in an apartment complex nearby. Like Harpreet and Vandana, there are many people who own shops in various markets of the city. These shops may be small or large, and they sell different things. Most business persons manage their own shops or business. They are not employed by anyone, but they do employ a number of other workers as supervisors and helpers. These are permanent shops that are given a license to do business by the municipal corporation. The municipal corporation also decides on which day of the week the market has to remain closed. For example, the shops in the above market are closed on Wednesdays. This market also has small offices and shops that provide services such as banks, courier services, and others. In the factory workshop area, I wanted to have zari work done on one of my dresses, which I needed for a special occasion. My cousin said that she knew Nirmala, who works in a garment factory. Nirmala's neighbors do zari work and embroidery. So we caught a bus and headed towards the factory area. The bus was really crowded. At every stop, more and people got on, and hardly anyone seemed to get off. People were pushing others to make more space for themselves. My cousin guided me to a corner so that we wouldn't get squashed. I wondered how people travel like this every day. As the bus entered the factory area, people started getting off. We also got off soon at a crossing. What a relief that was. There were a large number of people sitting on railings or in groups at the crossing. They seemed to be waiting for someone. Some groups had people on scooters standing by and talking with them. My cousin explained that this place was called Labor Chowk. These were daily wage laborers who work as helpers to masons. They dig at construction sites, lift loads, or unload trucks in the market, dig pipelines and telephone cables, and also build roads. There are thousands of such casual workers in the city. We entered the factory area to find it full of small workshops. There seemed to be endless rows of them. In one section, we saw people working in a small room on sewing machines where cloth was being stitched. One person operated one sewing machine. Clothes that had been stitched were stacked on one side of the room. We located Nirmala in the stitching unit. She was happy to meet my cousin and promised to get zari work done on my dress. Nirmala works as a tailor in an export garment unit. The factory where she works makes summer clothes for people in foreign countries like USA, UK, Germany, and the Netherlands. Workers like Nirmala have to work very long hours in the months from December to April. A normal working day begins at 9 a.m. and finishes only by 10 p.m., sometimes even later. She works for 6 days a week. At times when the work needs to be done urgently, she works on Sundays too. Nirmala is paid rupees 280 a day for 8 hours and rupees 100 extra for working late. By June, the work is over and the factory reduces its staff. Nirmala will also be asked to leave. For about 3 or 4 months in the year, there is no work for her. Most workers, like Nirmala, are employed on what is known as casual basis. That is, they are required to come as and when the employer needs them. They are employed when the employer gets large orders or during certain seasons. At other times of the year, they have to find some other work. Jobs like Nirmala's are not permanent. If workers complain about their pay or working conditions, they are asked to leave. There is no job security or protection if there is ill treatment. They are also expected to work very long hours. For example, in the cloth mill units, the workers work on day and night shifts, with each shift lasting 12 hours. One worker works on one machine for 12 hours and then is replaced by another on the same machine for the next 12 hours. Working in call centers is a new form of employment in the big cities. A call center is a centralized office that deals with problems and questions that consumers or customers have regarding goods purchased and services like banking, ticket booking, etc. Call centers are generally set up as large rooms with workstations that include a computer, a telephone set, and supervisor stations. India has become a major center not only for Indian companies but also foreign companies. They set up call centers here as they can get people who can speak English and will work for lower wages. In the office area, my aunt Sudha works as a marketing manager. She had asked us to reach her office before 5:30 p.m. We thought we would get late, so we took an auto rickshaw that managed to get us there just in time. Her office was in an area surrounded by tall buildings. There were hundreds of people coming out. Some headed for the car park while others went towards the rows of buses. My aunt is a marketing manager in a company which manufactures biscuits. The factory where the biscuits are made is outside the city. She supervises the work of 50 salespersons who travel to different parts of the city. They get orders from shopkeepers and collect payments from them. She has divided the city into 6 regions and once a week she meets the salespersons of each region. She checks their progress report and discusses problems they face. She has to plan the sales in the entire city and often has to work late and travel to different places. She gets a regular salary every month and is a permanent worker with the company. She can expect her job to continue for a long period of time. Being a permanent worker, she also gets other benefits such as the following: savings for old age. A part of her salary is kept in a fund with the government. She will earn interest on these savings. When she retires from this job, she will get this money and she can then live on that. When she retires from this job, she will get this money and she can then live on that. Holidays. She gets off on Sundays and national holidays. She also gets some days as annual leave. Medical facilities for her family. Her company pays the medical expenses up to a certain amount for her and her family members. She gets medical leave if she falls ill, and her salary is not cut if she takes this leave. There are many workers in the city who work in offices, factories, and government departments where they are employed as regular and permanent workers. They attend the same office or factory regularly. Their work is clearly identified. They get a regular salary. Unlike casual workers, they will not be asked to leave if the factory does not have much work. At the end of the day, we got into my aunt's car, exhausted. But it had been so much fun, and I thought how interesting that so many people do so many different things in the city. They have probably never met each other, but it is their work that ties them together and helps to make up city life.